help you receive from the folks at Awaken 180, you can do this. My mental health is better. My energy is better. My relationship with my coworkers is better. My relationship with my wife and my family, my driving. There's not anything in my life that isn't better. Everything was affected.
KDKA and KDKA FM HD2 Pittsburgh. W261AX Pittsburgh.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Time now for the KDKA WPIAL Selection Monday. Presented by Dave & Buster's. Located at the block at Northway. Only on the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
And good afternoon. We welcome you to a special presentation of Selection Monday from the WPIAL and the Voice of Pittsburgh News Radio, KDKA. My name is Dan Zangrilli. I am the play-by-play broadcaster for our high school football and basketball coverage. Our coverage is brought to you by Dave & Buster's, located in the North Hills of Pittsburgh. And over the course of the next 90 minutes, we will break down the brackets, reveal the fields in both boys and girls, each of the 6 classifications. We will also be joined by the Chief Operating Officer of the WPIAL, Vince Sortino, who will be here to answer the burning questions and settle perhaps some of the debate that is going to ensue here over the next 60 minutes as we reveal the pathway to the Peterson Event Center. As all boys and girls teams, 12 games will be played over the course of 3 days at the Peterson Events Center. So, without any further ado, we will get you all settled in here, everybody, and it's time to go. And we'll start in the boys and girls classifications. And standard is, by the way, the home games will be at the higher seed. So just as a little bit of a standard deal there. So anyway, we begin. In the 6A classification, the 8-9 play-in game, Woodland Hills is the 9 seed, and they will play the 8 seed Seneca Valley. Seneca Valley was 11-11, 8-6 in Section 1A, 6A. They've lost 4 in a row. The Wolverines, well, they've won their last 4 games. They were 6-8 in section play. That'll be Monday, February 17th, 7 p.m. at Seneca Valley High School. That's the 8-9 play-in game, and that will feed in to the 1 seed who receives the bye. This will be Thursday, February 20th. The Upper St. Clair Panthers, no surprise, at 20-2, 13-1, the champs of Section 2. Down to the 7-10 play-in game. It is the 10 seed North Hills Indians, 7-15, 6-8 in the league. They'll travel to Butler to take on the 7 seed Golden Tornado, who are 15-6, the second most wins in Section 1A. To the 2 seed, another bye in 6A. With USC getting the 1 seed, that means the Newcastle Red Hurricane, the champions of their particular section. And they will feed into the 4-5 game, or feed from the 4-5 game, Fox Chapel and Central Catholic. 15-6 Foxes finished second place in Section 1 against the third-place finishers in Section 2, the Vikings, at 10-4 and 13-8. A 2-point overtime loss against Imani Christian. That proved costly. Because Imani Christian, as we take a look, and you will see in just a moment, they will get the winner of the 6-11 game because they are the 3 seed, Imani, with that big victory down the stretch. And to that 6-11 game, Norwin and Mount Lebanon. The Blue Devils at the 6 seed, Norwin at the 11. Now let's take a look at the overall bracket here. For those watching on our YouTube channel, you could see Upper St. Clair, Newcastle, Imani Christian getting the 3 seeds in 6A, and then an interesting intersectional game. There's been a lot of intersection play here in 6A, and that's something that we'll ask the Chief Operating Officer coming up a little bit later on. They try to avoid as much as they can the crossover in that first round, but sometimes, especially with fields as large as this is, it's unavoidable, but something that will be certainly discussed. All right, now we go to the 5A classification, and it begins with a 16-17 play-in game. The Franklin Regional Panthers will play host to Indiana. This is Thursday, 7 p.m. at Franklin Regional High. They'll get the 1 seed on the evening of Tuesday, February 18th, and that 1 seed is the Montour Spartans. And Amos O, 20-1, 12-0, the Section 4 champs. 12-15 game after a Cinderella year last year. The Fightin' Highlanders also at a 20-1 mark. Conference loss coming to South Fayette. They take on the Penn Trafford Warriors. Down to the 3-14 game. Uniontown 14-0 in conference, 19-3 overall. The Section 1 champs, they will take on the Hampton Talbots. To the 4-13 game in 5A. An interesting first round matchup as Chartiers Valley will host the Thomas Jefferson Jaguars. In the 5-12 game, Moon took top seed Montour to overtime earlier this year, but they're at the 5 seed taking on the Gateway Gators. The 6-11 game, Peters Township Indians will play host to 11 seed Penn Hills. The Indians were 10-2 in their section this year. The 7-10 game, South Fayette and the Mars Fightin' Planets, they will tangle. And then the 8-9 game, you don't see a section champ in an 8-9 game, but that's where the 14-6 Cavaliers are due to strength of schedule and conference. They are home to Greater Latrobe. Now let's take a look at the entire bracket at large and overall, just to give everybody one more snapshot. And you can, of course, follow along at KDKA Radio on our Twitter, Instagram channels, and we urge you to go ahead and subscribe and like and follow. But there are the brackets. Once again, Montour really no surprise as the 1 seed, as the pathway to the Peterson Event Center in Boys 5A looks just like this. So we're going down to the 4A bracket, which is a little bit different. And a little more straightforward. They have 4 seeds and byes. The top 4 seeds will get byes. By the way, I do want to mention that 5A bracket, all first-round games will be played Tuesday the 18th at 7 p.m. at the higher seed facility. So again, one final look. The higher seed gets the home game, and all of those games, 7 o'clock Tuesday, February 18th. Now we move on to the 4A classification, and again, the top 4 seeds all get byes, and we begin with Bell Vernon over North Catholic in what was a ton of debate. The Leopards edging out the Trojans for that top spot. Beaver and Avonworth get seeds 3 and 4, and there was a crazy game between the Bobcats and Antelopes down the stretch over the weekend that edged the Bobcats out, getting that 4 seed. And JoJo Salvino in his final year, we'll talk to him coming up in the later parts of this program, making his retirement public. He goes into the tournament again as the top seed. So the top 4 seeds all will be playing on Friday at 7 p.m. Now we go to the 8-9 game. It is the Elizabeth Forward Warriors against the Highlands Golden Rams. Elizabeth Forward will play into that 1 seed game again Friday, 7 p.m. Now down to 7 and 10, the Deer Lakes Lancers and the Quaker Valley Quakers in the 7 versus 10. 6 versus 11, the Central Valley Warriors will take on 11 seed Derry area, followed by the 5-12 game, the Knock Knights and the West Mifflin Titans. to round out the 4A bracket. The 5 through 12 seeds will play Friday, advancing then to Wednesday night. So let me again reiterate that. The top 4 seeds playing the following Wednesday evening. Not this Wednesday, the following Wednesday, 5 through 12. They will play this coming Friday. And of course, you could double check the brackets, WPIAL.org, and we'll have them posted on our KDKA radio social channels. So we are through the top 3 classifications, 6, 5, and 4 in the boys field. Coming up next, we will go through 3, 2, and 1. The WPIAL KDKA Radio Selection Monday playoff pairings presented by Dave & Buster's. We invite you to stay tuned right here on the flagship station of the WPIAL. This is KDKA.
For over a century, and it gets better.
#20 KDKA.
And we welcome you back to WPIAL KDKA Selection Monday, presented by Dave & Buster's in the North Hills. I'm Dan Zhang, really part of our high school sports coverage team, the Pathway to the Peterson Event Center, and we are through the first 3 brackets in the 6, 5, and 4 classifications. Just to very quickly recap, bring you up to speed. The top seed, Upper St. Clair in 6A, the top seed, Montour in 5A, and Bell Vernon edges out North Catholic in the 4A classification for our radio listening audience. You can find us at 100.1 FM and AM 1020 is America's first radio station, and we appreciate everybody watching on our KDKA Radio High School Sports YouTube channel. 3, 2, and 1 classifications in boys basketball. We begin with 16 teams. All games will be played Tuesday the 18th at 7 or 8 p.m. at the higher seed. Not tomorrow, but the following Tuesday, and it's pretty straightforward. So we'll begin right now with the 1 versus 16 game. The Aliquippa Quips are earners of the top seed, and they will take on the New Brighton Lions. So the Quips getting the 1 seed, edging out the South Allegheny Gladiators, who are able to get that 2 seed, and they will welcome in the Charleroi Cougars. The Cougars under Joe Dunn, his first season at the helm, leading them to the postseason for the first time since 2020. The 3 versus 14 game. Mohawk, they were the second place team in Section 1 3A, just behind Aliquippa, so they are in the 3rd seed. 17 wins for the Warriors, and it's quite the trek to Waynesburg. 14 seed will have to make the trip north as you see the 4-13 game. Quickly ahead, it's a South Hills Catholic school rivalry as Bishop Canevin takes on Seton LaSalle. The 5-12 game, Keystone Oaks gets the 5 seed, and they will welcome in Ligonier Valley. And in the 6-11 game, the Southmoreland Scotties, the Section 4 champions, but they fall to that 6 seed despite being 10-0 in their league. They host the 11 seed Carlinton Cougars. In the 7 versus 10 game, the South Park Eagles will take on Elwood City. And in the 8-9 game, McGuffey and Shady Side Academy in your 8-9 matchup. And again, all games will be played the Tuesday after tomorrow on the 18th at 7 or 8 p.m., and it will be at the higher seed. For those that are watching on our social media channels, you can stream this, by the way, live with video at our high school sports channel at KDKA Radio or on Twitter and Facebook. You take a look at that graphic there in 3A boys WPIAL playoff basketball. 16 teams enter the field. Well, in 2A, this is where the pandemonium really begins. There are 21 teams in the 2A field, and Jefferson Morgan and Springdale makes up a 12 seed versus 21 seed play-in game. Springdale is the 21, Jefferson Morgan the 12. Then we go over to 13 versus 20. Winchester Thurston takes on Bethlehem Center. Both of these games will be played Thursday at the at AHN facility, I should say. Jeff Morgan and Springdale is at Jeff Morgan High, but at AHN Arena at Peters Township High School is where you find 13 versus 20, Beth Center and Winchester Thurston. West Green and Brentwood, the 14 versus 19 game. That'll be at West Green High Thursday at 7 p.m. As we go to the 15 versus 18 game, it is Bentworth and Southside. That'll be at AHN Arena, Peters Township High School, 7:30 p.m. Thursday, the 13th. 16 versus 17 game, Laurel Eden Christian Academy. It is the 13th, Thursday, 7 p.m. played at Laurel High. And all of these pigtail play-in games, if you will feed in to those who've earned the top seeds in the 2A boys WPIL basketball classification. And it's Greensburg Central Catholic who earns that 1 seed. So they await the winner of 16 versus 17, Laurel and Eden Christian Academy. So you go to the 2 seed now, Sewickley Academy. They await the winner of 15 versus 18. These games will be played next Monday at 7 p.m. The 3 seed in the 2A field, the Jeanette Jayhawks. They will host the winner of the 14-19 play-in game that is West Green and Brentwood. Now to the 4 seed, the Neshannock Lancers. They will host the winner of that 13-20 game, Winchester Thurston Beth Center. And again, these games will be played on Monday, the 17th at 7 p.m. That leads us now to the 5-12 game. The 5 seed is Northgate, I should say. And Northgate is able to earn that seed, awaiting the winner of 12-21 on the 17th of February, 7 p.m. That'll be at Northgate High School. Moving on, the 6 versus 11 game. Ulsh, Our Lady of Sacred Heart, will take on the Clareton Bears. Next, the Chartiers Houston Buccaneers. What a year for Char Houston. They take on number 10 seed Shenango. Moving on, Union and Fort Cherry making up the 8-9 game in 2A. And a look at the bracket, and what a bracket it is. 21 teams participating in the 2A field. It's a little more straightforward in the 1A bracket. There are only 8 teams. 8 teams in 1A. So, yep, that 2A field is quite the field, and there are a total of 5 different play-in games, again, beginning this Thursday, the 13th, with the 12:21 Jeff Morgan, and it goes all the way into the later parts of the week. So now down to 1A. The 1 seed is Neighborhood Academy. They will take on Beaver County Christian. The 2 versus the 7 game, Sarah Catholic and Summit Academy. Both of these games played Wednesday the 19th, times to be determined. Moving to the 3-6 game, Nazareth Prep takes on Monessen, and the 4 versus 5 game, that will be Aquinas Academy and Geibel Catholic. All of these games, times to be determined. The location for Aquinas Academy and Geibel Catholic, that location also to be determined, but Wednesdays the 19th are the dates for the 1A field. As for those watching, you take a look at that bracket. Again, all will be available at kdkaradio.com and posted before too long at wpial.org. Well, we are through the boys' classifications. Now we'll move on and give the ladies an opportunity to tell their story on the pathway to the Peterson Event Center. This is WPIAL Selection Monday. All from KDKA Radio and presented by Dave & Buster's. We invite you to stay tuned to the flagship of the WPIAL, KDKA. We'll be right back.
Looking for a new car?
Dave & Buster's.
Only on the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
And thanks for joining us for this special program presented by Dave & Buster's in the North Hills. I'm Dan Zhang, really running through the brackets, revealing them on the flagship station of the WPIAL. We have gone through all 6 classifications in the boys' field. Before we get to the girls, I just want to bring everybody up to speed very quickly in our radio listening audience, and we will recycle most of this for those that are tuning in kind of right in the middle of things. Upper St. Clair in 6A gets the 1 seed. In 5A, it's the Montour Spartans in Belle Vernon. They are the 1 seed in 4A. 3A, the top seed goes to Aliquippa, while Greensburg Central Catholic in 2A is awarded the 1 seed, and Neighborhood Academy in 1A boys gets the top seed. And again, we'll get everybody caught up to speed. Follow along on our social channels, KDKA Radio, on Twitter and Instagram, and be sure to like and subscribe to our KDKA Radio High School Sports channel on YouTube, where we simulcast. You can also catch a video feed of this broadcast on Facebook and Twitter. Now we move to the girls' 6A classification, and it's fairly straightforward with a total of 6 teams, make it, I should say, 8 teams participating. It's just a straight 8-team bracket, do beg your pardon. The Norwin Knights at 13-7 and 4-1 are awarded the top seed. They endured a 3-game losing streak around Christmas. They've got the North Allegheny Tigers. This will be played Friday at Norwin High School. Tip time is to be announced. The 2 versus 7 game, Upper St. Clair, 15-6, 8-2 record overall. They've got the Pine Richland Rams in the 2 versus 7 game. This will be played at Upper St. Clair High School on the 21st on Friday. Now down to the 3 versus 6 game. Seneca Valley, 15-6, 10-0 in Section 1-6A. They are the champions, taking on the Mount Lebanon Blue Devils, who finished 12-9 with a 5-5 record in Section 2 of 6A. And the 4 versus 5 game is a great story for the Cannon McMillan Big Macs, their first playoff berth since 2016 under their second-year head coach John Fontana. Just a couple of section wins over a 4-year span. They go 12-8 and 6-4, and they will host a playoff game. It's their first postseason appearance since 2016. The Butler Golden Tornado visit the Big Macs on Thursday, February 20th, after the Golden Tornado finished at 11-9 and 6-4. So, 8 teams in 6A girls basketball. The top seed going to Norwin. Cannon Mac in the dance for the first time in the better part of a decade. And there you see it displayed on the screen for those watching along. Now we move down to girls 5A. And there was some debate as to who would get the 1 seed, but it goes to South Fayette after a 21-1 regular season, unbeaten in their conference. They'll play on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 7 p.m. at home against number 16 seed Greensburg-Salem. So the 2 seed goes to the Peters Township Indians. They take on Fox Chapel. That will be at AHN Arena on the campus of Peters Township High on Friday the 14th at 7 p.m. Now moving along, the 3 seed Penn Trafford, what a year they've had. They are rewriting history. Friday the 14th at 7 p.m. they host the 14 seed, the Plum Mustangs. The 4 versus 13 game, the Shaler Titans take on the Mars Fightin' Planets. Number 5 Franklin Regional and number 12 Bethel Park. The 6 versus 11 game, Thomas Jefferson and Greater Latrobe. That will be, again, Friday, much like every other game in the girls' 5A bracket at 7 p.m. The 7 versus 10 game, Indiana versus Moon. The 8 versus 9 game, Chartiers Valley. They take on the Baldwin Fighting Highlanders, Char Valley, at 10-2 in their section, 13-8 overall for Baldwin in the 8 versus 9 game. 5A girls bracket, the 1 seed South Fayette edging out the Peters Township Indians. That's a bit of a debate, and we'll ask Chief Operating Officer Vince Sortino of the WPIAL. He'll be along later this hour to answer all of our burning questions, and this certainly happens to be one of them. So the 5A WPIAL girls basketball playoff bracket complete. We move now to 4A. 4A has a play-in game, 16 versus 17. York is the 16 seed, and Highlands is the 17 seed. Thursday, the 13th, 7 p.m. at York High School. This game will be played, and it will feed in to the 1 seed. And the 1 seed is awarded to Blackhawk. The Cougars at 19-2, finishing in their section 12-0. A lot of debate between Oakland and North Catholic who would get the top seeds. Well, the 2 seed is Oakland Catholic, and they will play host to Hampton. They were able to survive the North Catholic Trojans, who fall to the 3 seed. They had a 112-game section win streak snapped. They're 19-3, 13-1. They've got Mount Pleasant. This will be played Monday at 7 p.m. And all of these first-round games Monday, 7 p.m. at the higher seed. Moving on, 4 versus 13, Elizabeth Forward and Hopewell in the 4A 4-13 girls basketball game. Now, moving on to 5 versus 12, Beaver and Freeport. Congratulations to the Bobcats and the Yellow Jackets. 6 versus 11, it is South Park versus 11 seed Burrell. And the 7-10 game. You take a look at the bracket there. Overall, a good look for 4A girls basketball. Also, the 8 versus 9 game will be the Laurel Highlands Mustangs and the Knock Knights. Take a look at that. And then the 7-10 game, the Bell Vernon Leopards, will be the 10 seed playing on the road at the Central Valley Warriors. Again, all of these games Monday, the 17th. So, again, Blackhawk is the top seed. The 2 is Oakland Catholic. And then you move to North Catholic, the 3 seed. And the 4 versus 13 game, Elizabeth Forward, Hopewell. Beaver, Freeport is the 5 versus 12 game. And then 6-11, it is South Park, Burrell. And 7 versus 10, Central Valley and Bell Vernon. And then Laurel Highlands and Knock in the 8 versus 9 game. 4A girls, all at the higher seed host as the host site, and all will be played Monday at 7 p.m. So 6, 5, and 4 girls brackets, they are complete. They are announced. Everybody knows their destination. We have 3 more classifications to go in the WPIAL girls playoff basketball field. So we invite you to stay tuned. That's coming up next. This is WPIAL KDKA Radio Selection Monday, all presented by Dave & Buster's across the WPIAL flagship station and the voice of Pittsburgh News Radio, KDKA.
All the news you need for
WPIAL Selection Monday, only on the voice of Pittsburgh, 100.1 FM and AM 1020, KDKA.
Running down all of the brackets in, well, they said the old field is 64 when you talk college, but the field is much larger in boys and girls high school basketball in the WPIAL. I'm Dan Zhang, really glad to be with you. We have run down the entire classifications, the bracket in the boys field. We have gone through 6, 5, and 4 in the girls field. And just to bring everybody up to speed, if you're jumping in a little bit late, the top seed in 6A girls, Norwin. In 5A girls, South Fayette edges out Peters Township with a 21-1, 12-0 record. And the top seed in 3A, in 4A, or I should say in 4A, is Blackhawk. Now we move along to the 3A classification, and that top seed, it's Shady Side Academy. They will take on the winner of the 8 versus 9 game. We'll get to that right here, Riverside and Deer Lakes. Riverside, Deer Lakes, they will play Friday the 14th at 7 p.m., and then they will take on Shady Side Academy Wednesday the 19th. In that 8 versus 9 winner will again feed in to play Shady Side Academy. All right, the second bye, the 2 seed, goes to Greensburg Central Catholic. They'll await a game that will be played on Wednesday the 19th. The 7 versus 10 game feeds in, and it will be played Friday the 14th at 7 o'clock at Quaker Valley High School as the Quakers are able to get the 7 seed over the McGuffey Highlanders. That brings us now down to the 3 versus 14 game. Ulsh and South Allegheny, Our Lady of Sacred Heart, against the Gladiators on Friday, 7 p.m. This game will be played at Moon High School. Ulsh versus South Allegheny in the 3 versus 14 game. On a 15-game win streak, Friday the 14th, the Keystone Oaks Golden Eagles, as the 4 seed, will welcome in at 6 p.m. 13 seed Ligonier Valley. And down to the 5 versus 12 game. Seton LaSalle and Elwood City. That game will be played at Chartiers Valley High School. Again, Friday the 14th, 6 p.m. at Chartiers Valley. The Seton LaSalle Rebels will take on Elwood City. 6-11 game. The Avonworth Antelopes and Beaver Falls Tigers, Friday the 14th, 7 o'clock. That will be at Avonworth High School. So the field of the 3A girls bracket, looking sharp. The top seeds, Shady Side Academy, Greensburg Central Catholic getting the byes. And a really intriguing matchup in that 8 versus 9 Riverside and Deer Lakes. So 3A is complete. Now we move down to 2A, and we start with the play-in game Thursday the 13th, and it will be, we'll tell you in a moment, that 16 versus 17, Apollo Ridge and Bentworth, feeding in to the 1 seed Neshannock, as you saw there. So the 16-17 game played Thursday the 13th at Apollo Ridge High. Neshannock will await that winner, and they'll play either Apollo Ridge or Bentworth on Tuesday the 18th, again at Neshannock High. The 2 seed in the 2 versus 15, Aliquippa and Carmichael's, Tuesday the 18th at Aliquippa High. Down to the 3 versus 14 game. Winchester Thurston will take on Burgettstown. That will be played at Keystone Oaks High School. Tuesday, February 18th at 6 p.m. Winchester Thurston will take on Burgettstown. Moving to the 4-13 game, Southside against the Ellis School. That will be played at Southside High School Tuesday the 18th at 7 p.m. Down to the 5 versus 12 game. Fort Cherry goes up against California. Played at Fort Cherry High Tuesday the 18th. 6-11 Chartiers Houston on the 18th, Tuesday, 7 p.m. taking on the Brentwood Spartans in the 6-11 game. 7 versus 10 Riverview and Rochester. That's at Riverview High School Tuesday the 18th, 7 p.m. And in the 8 versus 9 game from Laurel High School Tuesday, 7 p.m., the Spartans take on Beth Center, the Bulldogs. Your 2A girls WPIAL playoff basketball bracket is as follows. Again, most of these games, in fact, all of them are Tuesday the 18th at 7 o'clock, the exception, the play-in of the 16 versus 17 game, which comes your way this Thursday, 7 o'clock, Apollo Ridge versus Bentworth. Now, certainly, not least or last, 1A girls basketball playoff bracket. a total of 11 teams making the field, and it begins with Union securing the top seed. They'll await the winner of the 8 versus 9 game, Springdale versus Bishop Canevin. That game will be played Monday the 17th at Springdale High School and then advance to play the following Thursday the 20th against top seed Union. How about Geibel? What a story. 17 years since their last section title, and they get the 2 seed. And they will await on Thursday the 20th the winner of the 7 versus 10 game. It's West Green against Eden Christian Academy. They'll play that one at West Green High Monday the 17th at 7 p.m. Again, feeding into the 2-seed Geibel Gators, securing their first section title in 17 years on Thursday the 20th. Now moving on. The 3-seed goes to Clairton and their high-flying offense, the Bears, awaiting a game that they'll play on Thursday the 20th. And they're awaiting the winner of 6 versus 11, which is actually, I do beg your pardon, there's a typographical error there. It is not Elizabeth Ford, but rather it is St. Joseph's. St. Joseph's Prep is the 6 seed. Sewickley Academy is the 11 seed. So moving on quickly, 4 versus 5, Sarah Catholic and Aquinas Academy, Thursday the 20th. And that should just about do it. The bracket there, and again, I do beg your pardon, it is St. Joseph's, the number 6 seed, taking on Sewickley Academy. As you see, the overall bracket is correct there as we zoom out in girls 1A basketball. So, again, the 1 seeds in 1A, just to bring you up to speed, Union in 1A. In 2A, it is Neshannock, and in 3A, it is Shadyside Academy. In 4A, it's Blackhawk. In 5A, it is South Fayette. And in 6A, it is the Norwin Knights. And we'll get you all caught up to speed. We'll recycle these brackets as we continue on. We'll also ask some questions of Chief Operating Officer Vince Sortino from the WPIAL, who will join me next. Plus, we'll have some reaction from around the WPIAL and one of the great feel-good stories as our coverage continues. The Bell Vernon Leopards and the announced retirement of their head coach Joe Salvino. Well, we'll join him live a little bit later on. We invite you to stay tuned to Selection Monday. It's all presented by Dave & Buster's, and it's all courtesy of the WPIAL in conjunction with News Radio KDKA.
The KD
Switch to
1% of the students graduate debt-free. Wow.
It's KDKA WPIAL Selection Monday, presented by Dave & Buster's, only on the voice of Pittsburgh, 100.1 FM and AM 1020, KDKA.
And we welcome you back inside our KDKA radio studios. I'm Dan Zhang, really part of our high school platform coverage across the WPIAL as the flagship station of the Western Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic League. Happy to bring in Vince Sortino, the Chief Operating Officer here, as we roll down a lot of the, I guess, the debate, not much controversy, Vince, which I find that to be maybe unique, Vince, because there's always somebody that's going to be unhappy, and I can't find a ton wrong. And you know how the media types, they always want to poke a hole in something. They always want to take a look. So I'll try to split some hairs here. First off, before we get to all that, how do you think you did? Did you get it right? Was it a hard conversation? Was there a lot of debate inside that room?
Well, there's always hard conversation. There's always a lot of debate. And the committee works really, really hard to try to get it right. Do you get it right all the time? Well, we start playing the games on Thursday, and first rounds go Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, so we'll find out soon enough.
6A boys, I know you try to, if at all possible, avoid section teams meeting in the first round. Was that unavoidable? Were you able, because it turns out that there are a lot of section teams that are playing one another.
Yeah, they also decided to try and list the rank as it is. So if section teams came up in the first round, we try to avoid it, and then it does happen. And it does happen when you don't have 16-team fields also. So when the lesser amount of teams you have, the less you have to work with. So that's what happened in this case here.
So again, what was the priority? You just wanted to make sure they were just ranked?
Yeah, we had some members that wanted to, in the past we still try to avoid that first round matchup, but we also had members that on the committee that wanted to be solid as we could in ranking from the top to the bottom and let it fall where it falls.
So that was the debate, really?
That was the debate.
Internally, okay.
Yes.
And why did the rankings win out? Perhaps over let's try to arrange the deck chairs. So
I think because of the smaller,
because of the field,
smaller size of the bracket. Yeah.
Because the goal at the end of the day,
yes, get
1 and 2 at the Peterson Event Center.
Well, we'd like to get that semifinal and then the top 4 teams and then the final 2 at the Pete.
Let's move down to the 4A bracket. Bell Vernon North Catholic, was there a lot of debate, 1 versus 2 in the seating there?
Yeah, it was debated. Bell Vernon, people felt was the hottest team right now in that classification. I think they've won probably 11 or 12 games in a row at this point. And as far as a win streak goes, North Catholic, they beat right there. I think at the end of the year they beat Knock and maybe Deer Lakes to secure that section championship that they got, and they earned that number 2 seed.
What was the hardest classification and bracket?
2A boys.
I mean, 21 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
It really was. There's a lot of teams, and it's tough when you have that many teams and trying to get it right, and not everyone's going to be happy, and a lot of teams, and you have teams that. A lot of teams don't have winning records that you're trying to get it right with, too.
And some of the conferences, frankly, they were top-heavy as well. For instance, I mean, Chartiers Houston, they fall to a 7 seed in 2A. So you had a lot of that, where some conference champions fell pretty far down. I believe, I forget what classification it was. There's an 8-9 game that a conference champion is playing in. But, to your point...
Probably Kiski.
Yeah.
Talking about.
Correct,
yes.
Yep.
And the strength of schedule and the strength of the conferences had a lot to do with it. So,
do you have set in stone criteria that you prioritize, or is it all fluid and ambiguous based on the classification because of all the different nuances? For instance, is it strength of schedule? Is it who's the hottest hand? Do you have anything that you almost rank and file one ahead of the other when you put your checklist together, or is it a checklist?
The section matchups are the most important, so how you fare in your section. And then the committee, over the years, always seems to go to who won that second game, that second matchup between section opponents. So if there is if in deciding between those two teams, the edge would always go to, not always, but most of the time, to that team that won the second matchup. And then you look at out-of-conference strength of schedule, and then the actual schedule, the section itself, on how strong it is. I would say those are your main components of what they look at.
Chief Operating Officer Vince Sortino is our guest on our KDKA WPIL Selection Monday show. We've announced the brackets, the top seeds, and we are reacting to them with Vince, who's so gracious enough to join us. Again, let's run down, just bring everybody up to speed. 6A boys, Upper St. Clair gets the top seed. Vince, that wasn't a very difficult conversation. Perhaps the same could be said about 5A Montour. They seem to be clear-cut. Belle Vernon North Catholic, we just discussed that. There was some debating there. In 3A, Aliquippa and South Allegheny, the 1 and the 2. Was that a big debate, or in your opinion, were the Quips ahead?
The Quips, it was pretty quick that everyone was on board with the Quips getting the number 1 seed. South Allegheny is a great team. They played a very, very tough non-section schedule.
Greensburg Central Catholic gets the 1 seed in 2A, Sewickley Academy the 2, and then Jeanette 3. A lot of folks felt maybe Jeanette could be the 2, and then you're looking ahead to a Greensburg Central Catholic Jeanette 1-2 rivalry, and everybody was excited about that possibility.
Yeah. Well, if you look at 1, 2, 3, and 4, I mean, they were. There was some discussion there, other than really the GCC, of who goes where in that 2, 3, and 4 slot, and that's how we usually start things off: is going at the number 1 seed between 1 and 2, and trying to work 4 at a time to try to fill them in. So you try to do the first 4. And then the second 4, which would give you your teams in the first round to get home court advantage.
So the 1 seed in girls 6A, Norwin, they were able to endure a 3-game losing streak. Cannon McMillan was interesting in the 4 versus 5 game. They didn't have a lot of, history on their side. How did the Big Macs sneak in and get the home game in the 4 versus 5 versus Butler?
I think because the strength of the section schedule was pretty strong, and Cannon Mac had some quality wins toward the end. In the last week or 2 of the season, they beat Upper St. Clair at home on their home court. So the committee felt that the other section was not as strong as that section.
Some debate, I would think, or maybe the biggest debate, correct me if I'm wrong, Vince Sortino, Chief Operating Officer of the WPIL, is with us in the girls' brackets. 5A girls, the 1 versus the 2 seeds. South Fayette at 21-1, 12-0 in their section, edges out Peters Township. How and why did the Lions get the nod?
That wasn't a lot of, there wasn't a lot of discussion,
it was
believe
not.
it or not, there. The committee was pretty, felt pretty strong about South Fayette getting the number 1 seed. South Fayette and Peters Township, I mean, both have great programs. Both had great seasons. South Fayette is, they felt was worthy of that number one seed, and hopefully you get a 1-2 in the championship at the end of the season.
So you move down to the 4A girls bracket, 1, 2, and 3. Blackhawk, Oakland Catholic, North Catholic. There was some speculation that Oakland Catholic, North Catholic, in any way, shape, or form, any of those 3 teams could have been the 1, 2, or 3 heading into the final weekend, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot, Blackhawk, defending state champions, they're on another one of those teams that have won 10 or 12 games in a row. They did lose an out-of-conference game, I believe, to Shadyside Academy, but Shadyside Academy's is the top team in their classification. And Oakland Catholic, most recently, when they played each other, did beat North Catholic.
Vince Sortino, Chief Operating Officer, WPIAL. Vince, before we let you go, just for those, the novice out there that, follows this, somewhat closely but doesn't know the nuances, football gets so much attention and how you compile the brackets. How does basketball compare? What are the differences between the two sports, boys and girls basketball versus football, but behind the curtain, the processes, the procedures, what, if anything, is different?
The difference is a lot more work in basketball because you have a whole nother gender, a whole nother classification of sports. You have in football, you're dealing just with the boys side. In basketball, we have 6 classifications for both boys and girls. So we have a lot of teams. We try to, when doing our first round, quarter, semis, and into the finals, trying to balance the schedule on those days. Officials, having the enough officials on each day.
Do you have enough?
We do. We have a lot. And if you notice, there's not a lot of our officials are do college games.
Okay.
And Saturdays are a big college game. It's one of the reasons I try to stay away from Saturdays.
Okay.
So you notice we have Friday, Monday, Tuesday. Saturdays will also be used as a backup snow day or a weather day if we need to. So the only day I used Saturday was that semifinal Saturday, going into Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday we'll have an off day as far as the semifinals go, and we'll get ready for those playing games.
All right, you're going to be able to sleep at night, right? There's not going to be anything that keeps you up here, Vince.
No, not at all.
Sleeping like a baby. The Chief Operating Officer of the WPIL, Vince Sortino. Vince, thank you so much for joining us here on the Selection Monday show. And let's quickly sneak in, well, I guess we'll call him the star of the show because he's had a terrific career that will come to an end once his team is eliminated from the playoffs, but he hopes it's not going to be for a long, long time. In fact, he hopes to take it all the way to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and the Giant Center. It's the second all-time winningest coach in the history of the WPIAL and the head coach of the Bell Vernon Leopards, Joe Salvino. Coach Salvino, congratulations on another great year. Thanks for joining us. And you made the announcement. The cat came out of the bag here publicly, about a week and a half ago. But now it's starting to get real as your team, the Leopards, in the boys bracket in 4A, enters as the 1 seed, as your team's going to try to make one last run for you. How do you feel about your positioning as you go into your final postseason?
Well, I feel pretty good. Anytime you're the 1 seed, that's a good feeling. That makes the players that worthwhile.
And obviously they're rallying around you there, Coach, which is great to hear. The Bell Vernon Leopards behind their coach, Joe Salvino. It didn't start off all that great for you, frankly, Coach. How did you right the ship when you lost your first 2 games and then found yourself really at 5-3? You haven't.
Well, we weren't playing real well defensively in the first couple games. We started out like we left off last year. Then we started realizing maybe we should listen to a person that's been around for so long. And then they started playing defense, and we started to win.
Well, and you haven't lost in the calendar year. So you credit that, obviously, to just the defensive-minded mentality that your team has since embraced, and you're playing a suffocating style that you've always played?
Yes, I believe so. I believe that that's one of the reasons. I mean, of course, we've been scoring pretty good, but a lot of that scoring has come off our transition points, which is that's the defensive part of it.
Bell Vernon head basketball coach Joe Salvino is with us on our KDKA WPIL Selection Monday show. The Leopards earning the 1 seed in 4A. They await the winner of the 8-9 game, Elizabeth Ford and Highlands. They edged out North Catholic, who gets the 2 seed in the 4A field. Coach, why did you decide that this was the final year and you kept it quiet, really, for most of the season, and you didn't really come out publicly until just a short time ago.
Well, I didn't want anybody focusing on me. I wanted to make sure it was just about the players. And I thought that at this particular time, since the regular season was over and we got a little while before our next game, that this would be the okay time to do it.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time, and we wish you the best of luck. A phenomenal career that at one point had back-to-back state championships in it in the late 1980s, and you have obviously written your name into the history books as the second all-time winningest program in the history of the WPIL. We wish you and your Leopards the best of luck. Coach, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Jojo Salvino, the head coach of the Bell Vernon Area Leopards. This is KDKA Radio 100.1 FM, AM 1020, KDKA AM in HD Pittsburgh. We welcome you into our Selection Monday program presented by Dave & Buster's. We want to get everybody caught up to speed on the brackets, so let's run them down right now in 6A boys. We'll start at the top. The 1 seed goes to Upper St. Clair. The 2 seed goes to Newcastle, both earning byes. The 8-9 game will be Seneca Valley, Woodland Hills, feeding in to take on Upper St. Clair. That 8-9 game will be played on Monday, the 17th at 7 p.m. at Seneca Valley High School, feeding into the USC game Thursday, the 20th. 2 seed Newcastle, they'll also play on the 20th, Thursday, awaiting the winner of the 7 versus 10 matchup, Butler versus North Hills, played on Monday, 7 p.m. The 3 seed Amani Christian getting a bye. They await the winner of 6 versus 11. That's Mount Lebanon, the Blue Devils, the 6 against the 11 seed Norwin Knights, Monday the 17th, followed by that Thursday game against Amani Christian. In the 4 versus 5 game, Fox Chapel takes on the Pittsburgh Central Catholic Vikings, the Foxes, and the Vikings Thursday the 20th. Time to be determined, but it will be at Fox Chapel High. In 5A, the 1 seed goes to the Montour Spartans. They will await the winner of the 16-17 play-in game that will take place at Franklin Regional High School this coming Thursday, the 13th at 7 p.m. The Panthers and Little Indians. 16 versus 17 feeding in to the 1 seed game against the Montour Spartans, played Tuesday the 18th at Montour High School. The Baldwin Fightin' Highlanders, the 2 seed versus 15 seed Penn Trafford, also Tuesday the 18th. All first round games in 5A played at the home facility of the higher seed. All will be played Tuesday evening. 3 versus 14 Uniontown, Hampton, the 4 versus 13 game Chartiers Valley and Thomas Jefferson, the Colts and the Jaguars. Colts getting the 4, Jaguars getting the 13. Moon and Gateway in the 5-12 game that will be played at Moon High School Tuesday, the Tigers against the Gators. Peters Township is the 6th seed against Penn Hills at AHN Arena at Peters Township. And into the 7-10 game, South Fayette Mars, with the Lions getting the 7 seed, the Planets getting the 10 seed under first-year head coach Kobe Philippi. 8 versus 9, Kiski area and Greater Latrobe played at Kiski Area High School. And for those watching on our KDKA High School Sports YouTube channel, the 5A bracket there for you to see. Down to 4A, we just spoke with the head coach of the Bell Vernon Area Leopards. They get the bye as the top dog in 4A. They await Elizabeth Forward and Highlands, the 8 versus 9 play-in game that'll be played this Friday, the 14th at 7 p.m. And then the winner of that game will head to Bell Vernon to take on the Leopards Wednesday the 19th, exact time to be determined. The 2 seed in boys 4A is the North Catholic Trojans. They await the winner of 7 versus 10, Deer Lakes Quaker Valley. That'll be played Friday at Deer Lakes High, feeding to Wednesday the 19th in the evening at North Catholic High School. The 3 seed Beaver against the 4 seed Avonworth. And while I'll just bring in Vince Sortino again here, Vince, I do have a question here. That 3 versus the 4, how much did the Avonworth Beaver game that went to overtime over the weekend, was that the deal breaker in determining who was 3 and who was 4 in that particular classification? Yes. Wow. And that was an overtime 1 possession game.
Yeah.
I mean, was there a lot of debate?
No, I don't think there was a lot of debate, but
straightforward.
Straightforward. Yep.
Okay. I was looking at that, and I had a question mark, and I failed to ask you about that, but, I mean, that was fun. That could, I mean, it didn't cost anybody a particular bye because the 4 seeds, but If it would have, that would have been fascinating. And
Yes.
a one possession could literally does knock you down a seed.
Yep.
All right, moving along here in 4A, as we said, 1 is Bell Vernon, 2 is North Catholic, Beaver is 3, Avonworth is 4, EF Highlands in that 8-9 game. The 7-10 game is Deer Lakes, Quaker Valley. Knock and West Mifflin 5-12 game, and then the Central Valley Warriors and Derry area Trojans in the 6 versus 11. 3A boys, Aliquippa is the top seed, South Allegheny the 2, Mohawk is the 3, the 4 seed is Bishop Canevin. So Aliquippa, New Brighton, South Allegheny, Charleroi, and then Mohawk, Waynesburg Central, Bishop Canevin, Seton LaSalle in that game. And then you've got the 5-12 KO versus Ligonier Valley, the 6-11 game, Southmoreland versus Carlinton, 7 versus 10 is South Park, Elwood City, and 8-9 is McGuffey and Shadyside Academy. To boys 2A, top seed Greensburg Central Catholic, they get a bye awaiting the 16-17 play-in game. There's 21 teams in this 2A field. Sewickley Academy is the 2 seed, and again the 3 seed at Jeanette. We're not going to run down all 21 teams. Head to KDKARadio.com or check out our social channels. All the brackets are posted. It was straightforward in 1A. Neighborhood Academy is the 1 seed, Sarah Catholic the 2, 3 seed Nazareth Prep, Aquinas Academy the 4. Neighborhood Academy plays Beaver County Christian, 2 versus 7, Sarah versus Summit, 3 versus 6, Nazareth Prep versus Monessen, 4 versus 5, Aquinas Academy against Guyville Catholic. Now to girls 6A. Norwin is the top seed. The 2 seed is Upper St. Clair, a great 4 versus 5 game. Cannon Mac and Butler, Seneca Valley, and Mount Lebanon, the 3 versus 6 game. Girls 5A, South Fayette edges out Peters Township for the top seed. Lions are 21-1 and 12-0. Peters Township, they will take on Fox Chapel. Lions take on Greensburg Salem. And again, all 16 games we won't go through, but those are the top seeds in girls 5A. Girls 4A, Blackhawk the 1, the 2 to Oakland Catholic. The 3 seed goes to North Catholic. In 3A, girls basketball, on a 15-game win streak, Keystone Oaks the 4 in the 13 game against Ligonier Valley, but Shadyside Academy, Greensburg Central Catholic, they get the byes. And in girls 2A, Neshannock is the top seed with Aliquippa coming in as the 2 seed. So a lot of basketball over at Aliquippa, with the boys getting the 1 seed and the girls getting the 2. So it's fun times over at Aliquippa. And in girls 1A basketball, congratulations to Guyville Catholic, their first section title in 17 years. They are the 2 seed. Union gets the 1 seed.
Dan, girls 3A was an omission by our office. Brownsville is the number 15 seed in 3A girls. So they were not on the bracket. Just wanted to bring that up and mention it.
Okay. And is there a playing game here? Let me see. So the 2 versus 15.
Our office just redid the bracket and sent it out to the schools.
So the 2 versus 15. So Greensburg Central Catholic would take on Brownsville, if I'm not mistaken.
Brownsville would be the 15, correct.
Okay, so in the 2-15 games. So thank you, Vince, for the late breaking news. So Brownsville is in the postseason. No date or time or change there, Vince. Wednesday the 19th, I believe, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Greensburg Central Catholic, Brownsville in the 2 versus 15 3A girls game. And I think that is the I dotted and the T crossed. Another one in the books.
Another one in the books.
Chief Operating Officer Vince Sortino from the WPIL, kind enough to join. I'm Dan Zang, really, and on behalf of our entire cast and crew and the yeoman's work by everybody, including our director, PJ Kamanchik, Ben Tenuta, Andy Lindberg, Ron Ahern, and Kyle Fraunheiser, we thank you for joining us for this special program of WPIAL KDKA Selection Monday, all presented by Dave & Buster's, and of course KDKA Radio as your flagship station of the WPIAL. We'll have each and every girls and boys championship game, all 12 of them, right here on America's first radio station, the voice of Pittsburgh, from the Peterson Event Center, over a 3-day celebration. So the pathway to the Pete begins, and it happens right here on KDKA. Good afternoon.
My name is Paul. I'm 58.